Cosmic Encounters is a game of epic space conquest and negotiation from designers Bill LeBurle, Jack Kittredge, Peter Olodka, Bill Norton, and Fantasy Flight Games.
In Cosmic Encounter, players compete to establish space colonies and build an empire, allying with and betraying their opponents along the way. It supports from 3 to 5 players and plays in just under 2 hours. And there are 3 expansions available, each of which adds new races, new powers, and another player. So if you have all 3, then you can play with up to 8. There's also a 4th expansion, Cosmic Storm, that's being released in 2013.
Each player starts Cosmic Encounters with 5 planets and 20 ships in a single color. 4 ships are placed on each planet. Then the Destiny deck is prepared according to the number of players that you have in the game. Each player is dealt 2 alien races, and you select one to start the game.
Then the Cosmic deck is shuffled, and each player gets a hand of 8 cards. The warp goes in the middle of the table with each player's counter in the 0 space, the hyperspace gate is laid out, and the game begins.
At the start of their turn, a player can retrieve one of their ships from the warp. They then draw the top card from the Destiny deck, which will tell them which player they're going to attack. If they draw their own card, then they can either choose to draw another one, or they can attack a foreign colony on one of their own planets.
The attacker points the hyperspace gate at one of the planets in their target's system. They then place from 1 to 4 ships on the gate, and they can take these ships from any of their colonies, but if they strip a colony entirely of its ships, then that colony is lost. Ships that are in the warp can never be used in a fight. Now, the defender is the player whose planet is being targeted. Any other players with colonies on that planet are considered bystanders and are not involved in the fight.
Next, the attacker invites any players that they'd like to ally with them, and the defender does the same. Now, no player can ally with both the attackers and the defenders in a single battle, but you can choose to ally with nobody. If you choose to ally with the attackers, you place 1 to 4 ships on the gate. If you ally with the defenders, you place 1 to 4 ships on the planet that's being attacked.
Next, the attacker and the defender each choose 1 encounter card from their hand and play it face down. If the defender doesn't have any encounter cards left, then they can reveal the rest of their hand, discard it, and draw a new hand. If the attacker doesn't have any encounter cards left, then their turn and the fight end immediately. Both players are then going to reveal their cards simultaneously.
If both cards are attack cards, then each player adds the card's value plus any ships that they have committed to their side. Whichever total is larger, that's the winning player. If one card is an attack card and one card is a negotiate card, then the negotiating player immediately loses. However, they can draw a card from their opponent's hand for every ship that they lose to the warp. If the attacker won, they place all of the ships they had in the gate on the target planet, either establishing or reinforcing a colony, and all of their allies get to do the same. All of the defending side's ships that were on that target planet get sent to the warp. If the defender wins, then they keep their planet, and all of the ships that were in the gate get sent to the warp. Each of the defender's allies gets to either draw a card from the Cosmic deck or retrieve one of their ships from the warp for every ship that they'd committed to the defense. If both players play negotiate cards, then all of the allies are immediately removed from the fight, and the 2 players need to make a deal. They have 1 minute. That deal can include trading cards, placing colonies on planets that you control, or both. If they don't come up with a deal within 1 minute, then both sides lose 3 ships to the warp. If the offense won the encounter or made a successful deal, they may have another encounter. Otherwise, it's the next player's turn. Now, your alien race's power cards and any flare cards in your hand are going to dramatically affect this basic framework of the game. Aliens that are marked in green are the least disruptive, and aliens that are marked in red make the most dramatic changes. Be careful though, because you will lose your alien power if at any point you drop below 3 colonies in your home system. Flare cards can be played at the time that they specify, and after a flare card is played, it is returned to that player's hand. If you have an alien race which matches your flare card, you get access to the super flare version of that card. There are also morph cards, which exactly mimic any encounter card that they are played against in a fight.
The game ends when one player reaches 5 foreign colonies, and that player wins.
So the first thing that you're going to notice about Cosmic Encounters when you open the box is the quality of the art. Classically Fantasy Flight, the components in this game are beautiful, the art is amazing, the alien cards are gorgeous, the theme is really nice and pervasive throughout this entire game, and that is definitely a high point for sure. It's also very, very interactive, so you are not going to have very much downtime in this game. There's lots of talking, there's lots of negotiating, there's lots of interaction. This does come with a negative sometimes, though. If you're playing with the wrong kind of group, if you're playing with a bunch of people who are quite shy, maybe people who don't like talking all that much, you might not get as much out of this game as if you're talking with you're playing with a bunch of people who love to chat and love to work with each other. That's definitely where this game is strongest.
Another potential challenge with Cosmic Encounter is all of those cool alien powers that you're going to get. Some of them are so powerful that they're going to completely change your tactics in the game. You might have a race that it's really, really hard to ally against, or one that can't die, or lose ships to the warp, and you're going to have to find ways of working around that. Some groups are going to absolutely rise to this challenge, while in some cases, if you get a bad combo of powers, or you've got a group that just wants to play with the rules the way they're supposed to be, it's kind of going to fall flat. That being said, those alien powers are one of the biggest strengths of the game for me. There are so many, and they're so varied, and they combine in so many different ways that the game really is quite different every time that you play. They don't just make minor cosmetic changes, they really, really force you to completely rethink how you're doing things, and it adds so much replayability and so much challenge and adaptation to the strategy. This game, for me, really shines in that kind of adaptation and really working with other people, trying to figure out what they're thinking, what they're planning, manipulating all of these different alliances. It's a really social and interactive and negotiation-based game, and it provides a beautiful sci-fi framework for these really fun social interactions, which I just love.